Zachariah, and I'm coming back from a concert at the Lodge Room in Highland Park, featuring Hotel San Claudio. Well, I'm not sure it's accurate to call the group Hotel San Claudio. The album is called Hotel San Claudio. But it's comprised of 3 musicians. The main composer, pianist, I believe he's from England, London. Mark, the Cilve-Love. The drummer is from Detroit. His name is Shigeto. Mononym Shigeto. And the vocalist and flautist is named her last name is Melanie Charles. She is, I think, Haitian born and from Brooklyn. I heard about this show because when I was trying to get to the jazz scene of Los Angeles, I guess at some point, I don't even remember when, I stumbled upon something called Jazz is Dead, which I learned to be I can't really call it a label, a curation, a project spearheaded by Adrian Young, who has been in the jazz world and the composing world, I think, for a long time, although I hadn't heard of him. But the other member of the group was Ali Shaheed Muhammad, the DJ from A Tribe Called Quest, and had his own career after that, and right now is working in collaboration with Adrian Young on Jazz is Dead. They've made almost 20 albums on the Jazz is Dead, I guess, label. And each album they compose and play on, and they feature like jazz legends on their albums. I think their second one was Roy Ayers, and one that's coming out soon is Lonnie Liston Smith. Anyway, because I followed them, I realized that they had a record store / hair studio. I don't really get the hair studio part in Highland Park. I've never been because each time I'm in Highland Park it's closed by then. But they have a lot of sponsored shows. I guess that's what makes them like a curation kind of project as well. So it was like a Jazz is Dead presents Hotel San Claudio, which is what I saw tonight. And I remember just trying to just find a Jazz is Dead presents, show at some point 2 or 3 months ago, and I stumbled upon this one. It looked cool. I didn't know much about them, especially because they had no music out individually. These 3 artists were known, I guess, in the music world and respected in their own little circles. I don't know how to define little, but their own circles. But they hadn't come together as a group until, I don't know, maybe a month ago when they released their first album. And the album's called Hotel San Claudio, with those 3 artists, Mark the Cilve-Love, Melanie Charles, and Shigeto. So I was really excited for the show. I didn't know what I was getting into, except that I listened to their album, and I knew that at least 3 songs of their 7 or 8 or 9 song album were kind of dedicated and inspired by Pharoah Sanders. The most notable one being the creator has a master. Excuse me. Ooh, that's a smelly one. The creator has a master plan, which is like one of his biggest songs, if not his biggest. The creator has a master plan, peace and happiness throughout the land. You get the point. It's a good album, and I heard a lot of sounds on the album. I heard the flute, and I heard the vocals, the percussion. piano. I heard even saxophone. Pharoah Sanders, if they're honoring Pharoah Sanders, I was almost expecting someone to play the saxophone on stage, but that didn't happen. Anyway, to the show. I get there a little early. There's a DJ playing some really good music. A couple of songs that I actually saved on Spotify, some good jazz songs. And then, they show up on stage. Shigeto is modestly dressed. I actually got a burger at a vegan burger place. So LA, I never eat vegan burgers, but it looked good, and it was good. Right before the show, and I recognized him from the restaurant. He was just one of the guys getting a burger. He was modestly dressed in a shirt that said, "Music is a natural high." Mark the Cilve-Love had a orange turtleneck and like a casual green blazer. He was behind the keys, and he had 2 keyboards, like a synthesizer and a computer, and like a bunch of knobbies. That's the technical term for it. And then Melanie came out wearing a Brooklyn Nets jersey, oversized, probably like short shorts, but you couldn't see because the jersey was so oversized. A leather jacket and like a leather hat. So fucking cool. Oh, and these glasses that were circular, and in the circle was made of like, I think, daisies or something. So the first song they play was like the instrumental track to "The Creator Has a Master Plan," and I was expecting the vocals to come in, but she was just on the flute. And then they move on to other songs, and they transition. Before they even played Mark the Cilve-Love, he talked about like the inception of the band, if you can even call it a band. And they were playing at some festival in Italy, and him and Shigeto knew each other, and they were playing, and they needed a vocalist, and they both kind of vaguely knew of Melanie. And they played together, and then for like the first time in some festival in Italy. And that's where the kind of project was born. He mentioned having like every day they had 4-hour lunches, eating the best food, and deep conversations, and then the last hour of lunch would be talking about where they were going to get dinner. It sounded really like kind of like a magical experience for them, and a blossoming of like a friendship. And that's what they kept reiterating over this show. It was like, this is a group hang. This isn't a band. This is us hanging out. And that was really evident in the way it sounded, especially the way it was just organized. It was very kind of off the cuff. It was very much like friends just hanging out and jamming together. And it was evident because there was some clunkiness and some awkwardness, very subtle stuff, especially with Shigeto, the drummer. Like, he was a little offbeat sometimes, and you kind of saw them looking at each other and trying to figure out what the other one was trying to do. I think at the end, Mark the Cilve-Love even said, like, this is Shigeto's first time playing in a year. I don't know if he meant period or like in person, or maybe like a live performance, but anyway, there was that raw energy to it, But the whole set list was amazing. It's hard to even like call it jazz, even though it was just like a mixture of everything. There was so many sounds, and the audience was fantastic. I think like this Jazz is Dead thing that I've stumbled upon, I think it might be like a big deal. Like, I mean, it's a big deal to me. It's had a big impact on me. But I think it might be like a very big deal to like a lot of people, and maybe that's why a lot of people came out. Like, I don't know why, but I have a hard time believing that like these people came out to the show tonight because they were, all individual fans of one of the 3 performers, or all of the 3. Anyway, the audience was so into it the entire time. There was just so much great feedback. There was a beautiful moment where Melanie, you know, like was singing a melody and having the audience repeat it, and then I forget the melody now, and then it would be a lot of you know, what do they call it, song and repeat, response, repeat and response. Oh fuck, this is gonna piss me off. Call and response. It was a lot of that, but she was doing the melody and doing like the call and response to like the audience, and everyone was really into it. We sounded good. We all sounded good, and she did it for like the back and forth for a long time, and then she kind of got into her own thing with the flute and like did her own vocals while we were doing our response. And then I kept hearing our response. It was too perfect, and then I'm realizing Mark de Cilve-Love is looping it. It sounds too good, and I made some eye contact with some people around me, like, do you hear that? Because there, in the feedback in the speakers of the, as I was saying before I got rudely cut off by the lack of storage on my phone, the speakers in the venue, they sounded too good, too rhythmic. So it took like a while before I realized that he was looping our own voices, playing it back on a loop, the whole crowd audience voices. And I wasn't even sure that he was doing that. I thought it was maybe in my head, but I was convinced that he was doing that because he did the same thing when they did the encore, because they the last song of the night was Creator Had a Master Plan, and she did the whole vocals for it, and it was beautiful, and people were singing along, and people were really excited about that. And then they were gonna go off stage, and then the promoter, you know, like asked us to make some noise for an encore, and of course we did. I mean, they were stomping on the floor. It was a lot of noise. And then they reiterated again, like, we literally don't have any more songs. We're just gonna have fun, like we've been having the whole night. We're just a group of friends playing together. But then they did the same thing where they looped, where she was singing a melody, and kind of they did their own riffs on the piano and the drum set. But then she did her call and response thing again, and they looped it again. It was so I've never really seen anything like that, and I'm not like, I was a little surprised at first, but like obviously that's something that's technologically available. It shouldn't be that hard to like loop the audience, but I've never been a part of that, and it was so cool like hearing the audience be integrated into a piece of music like that. It just felt like one really beautiful, cohesive series of moments that concert was. I think especially because they weren't necessarily a band that people had a lot of expectations of. They came out with an album that was, you know, thrown together out of friendship rather than out of any like particular goal. And just the common love of Pharoah Sanders, I guess. And I guess, I don't know, Pharoah Sanders is like a legendary saxophonist, composer, cosmic jazz, I think it's called. Yeah, I don't know. It was really, really fun. Melanie Charles had a lot of energy. I think she might be the most popular out of everybody. It's just amazing seeing musicians that, you know, are working musicians, playing their heart out and like being so talented, so in the moment, and having the audience really respond to that. And I guess it's just something about jazz that really lends itself to that kind of unique, you had to be there in that moment, creativity. And yeah, it was a good time. I guess I'm gonna keep making these videos after every time I see a concert. I did the same thing after I saw Herbie Hancock earlier this week, and I'm seeing the Meridian Brothers tomorrow night. I mean, I put it on YouTube and it got like 17 views in 2 days. I'm sure that's mostly because people thought they were clicking on a video of Herbie Hancock actually performing, and they were disappointed to see some random guy's face in a car. But as is evidenced by the fact that this video cut off 10 minutes in and I had to restart it again or continue on, I can't afford to have these thoughts recorded on my cell phone, so I might as well put them on YouTube because it's free storage for videos and recollections of amazing, fun live concerts. I'm tired of talking. I wooed a lot tonight, and I also kind of have a cold. Maybe getting over a cold. That was a really good concert. The Creator has a master plan. Peace and happiness throughout the land. Okay, bye.